So my name is Favor. If you didn't join last week, I just introduced myself as well. I did introduce myself last week to say that I'm a counselor and I'm a social worker. I'm a CBT therapist. I'm a mom of a teenager, and I also provide foster care for foster children from time to time. Okay. And I do some other things in the community. So yeah, I bring those experiences to these sessions, but I also want the session to be interactive. That's why I'm asking you to open your camera so we can learn from each other, because parenting is not something you graduate from. For the rest of your life, you are still learning. So we will share our experiences as we go on. Some parents may have come across some of the challenges the other parents have come across and may have used one or two strategies, God helping, to resolve it. And it's good to share those experiences so that others can learn from it. And also, these sessions are not necessarily to tell us what, to give us a kind of dictionary of parenting, that you do this and it results in this, or you do that, it results in that. No, it's about us sharing experience and learning and trying to understand what is happening with our teenagers, and the unfortunate incidences that led to them being taken into care, so that we can kind of prevent some of those incidences. So that's basically why we are doing these sessions. And so I do run parenting sessions. I do run CBT therapy, and so some of the things I'll be sharing also is some of the things I've heard that parents have shared that has helped based on some of the sessions I've led so far. So as usual, our training is about 1.5 hours, and the last hour will be off camera, so that people can be able to share their personal concerns, and we all put head together to support each other. So if you want to share anything personal to your family, I would suggest that you leave it until we're off camera. But if it's general things, then we can share it so that other people can learn. And if you want to share about something that happened to someone else, please don't use their exact names and location. We need to respect people's confidentiality, especially when it involves children. So please leave it. If it's your own personal family, leave it until we're off camera. We can discuss and see how we can help each other. And if you think that you need to speak to me directly, please, I'll put my number on the chat. You call me and speak to me directly about your personal circumstances. Because as you can understand, it's not everything about your family that we can begin to share in a public forum. Is it okay, but like that way? Yeah? We really love us to contribute as much as possible. So please don't be shy to contribute. No question is stupid. No contribution is stupid, because from very little things we can learn, and then it will benefit all of us. I'm not the expert. We are all the experts together. So I'm just sharing and facilitating the learning for all of us today. So if I hope it's okay, you can raise your hand to show me that it's okay, or you can raise the clapping hand so I know that what I'm saying, you agree with it. So let me share my screen straight away and we can start. So we're in the second week of learning more about supporting our teenagers. So who can tell me what we learned in the first week? Bro Laleka, please check if someone is raising hand, because I'm sharing, I can't see. Who can tell us what we focused on last week?
I said, do I go ahead?
Yes, I didn't see you before, sorry.
Okay, all right. When we started, you said, you posed the question, what is it like to be a teenager? what would I like to get from this course? So you asked us that question. And then this is a list of the topics that we're going through. What is it to be a teen and the parent of a teen today? The teen brain. Number 3, understanding behavior. Number 4, communication, listening, and empathy. Number 5, parenting styles. Number 6, praise and criticism. Number 7, managing stress and emotions. Number 8, negotiation and reducing conflict. And number 9, keeping safe and risk-taking. And then you also posed the question, what do you want for your teen in the future? So we all gave what we wanted: to be happy, confident, well-educated, good career in the future, to marry, have a family, have their kids, and be morally upright. And then you also posed the question, what pressures do teens have to deal with? And we also listed peer pressure, sibling rivalry, body changes, hormonal changes, academic achievements, emotional changes, parents' expectations, social media, fitting in with others, stereotypes, shyness. Another question again, what is it like to be the parent of a teenager? It's hard work, it's challenging, it's fulfilling, it can be fun or funny. It's also time consuming, it's repetitive, and it's very rewarding. And so you gave, it's a lot. Do I keep on going on?
No, we should clap for you, actually. We should, I think, Broleleko, we are going to give Sister Mariam a certificate. She will be the deputy trainer from now onwards. Because she kind of summarizes so well, what we did last week. So thank you so much, Sister Mariam. That was really nice. Even though we did other things, like we listened to that professor on teenage brain development and why teenage brain develops the way it develops, and why their frontal lobe is not properly developed until 25, and that's why they make very risky judgments and behave the way. Sometimes they're gloomy, sometimes they wake up late and all that. So yeah, and then we entered into those discussions, which were really very good. So thank you so much, Sister Miriam. So today is the second week, and we are going to focus on why do they behave the way they behave. So that's how I titled it. Why do they behave like that? Why do teenagers behave the way they behave? So before we come to that, I gave us a small homework, which I want to run through. Then we ask ourselves, why do teenagers behave the way they behave? Do we remember the homework that I asked us to do last week? Who can tell us?
Do I go ahead?
Yes, please.
So you said we should do something for ourselves, give ourselves a treat. And then you said, has anything that we've heard, which was last week, made us feel different about our teenagers in terms of perception and understanding them better?
Yeah.
Then also, what can you remember about, that's what can we as parents remember about being teenagers?
Yeah, you're right. I've shared it on the screen now. Okay. So who did a little bit of it? Please share with us. Who did any of these three? Those that were here last week. Let's hear from someone else. Sister Marian has helped us twice. So let's hear from another person.
I think is the teenagers, they want independence from the parent. They think now they are big. They have to behave. They have to do their choices, and they become struggle and to listen to the parent because they want independence, more independence. That's why they behave the way they behave, and also they don't know the danger. What's ahead? The innocent. They don't know the danger. The parents see the danger. but the children don't see the danger. That's the conflict always happen.
Thank you, Brother Ahmed. We'll come back to why do they behave like that in a moment. I'm just asking this homework, who has done either of the three? And what have you got from it? That's the one I'm asking now. So we have three things we asked us to do before we met today. And I want to say something about this little homework. It's not just, I'm not just sharing it for sharing's sake. It's part of the learning. It's very important. That's why this course is weekly, to give you time to do this little homework. So it's really important that we do it because it fits into the next week and it consolidates your learning from the previous week. So for example, when we say, has anything you have heard made you feel differently about your teenager? So what we're asking is what you learned that last week. Has it made you think differently or feel differently about if you have a teenager in the house? Or you have a teenager you're working with, or you have a relation of someone that is a teenager?
Hello?
Yes?
For me, what I have learned is that the big truth is that we are teenagers, and what they are going through right now is exactly the same thing, especially if we have the same temperaments.
Yes.
With such a child. Just that in this century, we have technology which has now engulfed that aspect.
I said what I learned last week was ability to allow them to explore. Because this class, it's like I've stamped their head, doctor, you engineer, you IT, and just try to force them to follow that line. But after the class, I discovered that as a teenager, it's a time to explore different things, since they still have a little time to adjust to what they do. So the class helped me not to be too strict on them, to let them explore.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you for that. So powerful. That's a very important
that has made us
learning.
Yeah, because I've ahead of you, engineer, you, architect, you, IT. Those things I could not do, and I want them to do. So, and I've been putting so much pressure. I've put so much pressure in their academics, in their books, and but
I'm really glad.
Yes, so it's through my spare time that now them to do what I feel is good for them. My daughter is downstairs now. Yeah, they have a quiz in school that she got 100. She came first in biology, first in this. I said, what I want her to indirectly, God is helping me to do it, but not to be forcing them, putting pressure on them, because she will tell me, you are pressuring me, I'll get scholarship, I'll get this. What did you get? I want to appreciate you for the class and all that. That's helped me to know that as a teenager, it's time to explore.
Thank you.
We should not force them too much. Yes, thank you very much.
So much.
I think to spend 10 minutes doing something for ourselves. So I spent 10 minutes to sleep, lock door and sleep. 10 minutes to go and shop for myself. Yeah, because I'm thinking about these children 24 hours. One has no time to. Yes, thank you.
I'm clapping for you. Well done. Well done. Good reflection. Very good reflection.
We have Olushola and
I saw them. And I remember Sister Miriam was the one really saying that last week, that we need to allow teenagers to explore. And she gave an example how she allowed her children to explore and let her narrow it down. Yeah, really good learning. Sister Olushola, quickly.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. What I learned last week about our teenagers, so is how to relate with our teenagers. We must relate with them well. We should show love to them and spend time with them. We should spend time with them. We shouldn't be just to leave them and be, maybe, for example, to just carry our phone and be talking for long period, and we just leave them alone, not talking to them. We should do, all this is about, we shouldn't ignore them. So, and to help them to go to bed earlier. Very, very important, so that when we wake up, we should encourage them so that they can wake up in time. So, and we should communicate with them. should be communicating with them every time. When we go out, we should create a boundary that maybe this time we want all the family to be in the night. We shouldn't be double say, I want to go to somewhere, maybe party. So we should communicate with them, be their friend. So we should find out their interests, what they like most. So those are the things we should use to be their friend. Those are the things we should be, create a friend with them. So that's what I learned. Thank you, ma.
Thank you so much, Sister Alushala. So the word that we use more that last week is that we should negotiate with them. We should negotiate with them. It's something that we're not too used to, back home where we came from. Back home, once your parents have said something, just say yes, ma, yes, sir. But the world we are living today has changed, and where we're living is different. And that's why we're doing all these courses, to see the difference where we are living and where we are coming from. So we take the best of our culture and take a little bit of the things that are good from here and make come out with a better quality children from our community. So one of the things that is good that we need to learn is how to negotiate. And it takes patience and it takes time. Yeah. Sister Nike.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Welcome.
So, thank you, Ma. So, from last week, I've really been able to learn to assess my son more. And I've been able to understand that it's because he's growing from being from childhood into that of hard adulthood, if I'll put it that way, that his frontal lobe, any time he behaves like he knows everything, like, Mom, I know what I'm saying. I just believe that. I just believed, from the lesson we've learned, that his frontal lobe is not fully developed. This is why you are behaving like this. So, and it's helping me to know that I'm getting to understand more why they are behaving like this, because their brain is still developing. And another thing that I learned from last week was that when we should help them in their area of interest. So I've tried my best even to start football for my two boys now. So last week they were really impressed because I took them to football. I had a very important meeting on Zoom. I was doing that Zoom meeting while I was with them on football ground at the same time. Thank you, ma. They really enjoyed themselves. And again, I was happy earlier on that my son he kicked the ball over the roof, and it went to a very, very far building next to us, and I didn't bother to go look for the ball. But still, from school, another teacher gave him another ball to show that they understand these teenagers maybe better than how we parents do.
Thank you so much.
And I'm still learning more. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we keep learning. It's a journey. Thank you so much. I'm really glad that we took out something from last week. From what we've heard from people today, it shows that we really gained something from last week. And as we keep putting these building blocks, I'm trusting God that by the end of the 6 weeks, we will see the bigger picture. And our teenagers, we will see the dramatic change that will happen in this short 6 weeks. And from that point, we will see what we have done differently from what we have learned from this course. Like I said, I'm not here to tell you this is what you must do to your child or this is what you must do, but you will make your own learning. You will pick your own learning and conclusions and apply it to your particular situation, what will work for you, and from what you learn from other people here. And then I'm definitely sure that by the end of these 6 weeks, the outcomes for this training would have been met even by the end of these 6 weeks. There have been improvements in the quality of parenting and how our teenagers respond to us. And people will share testimonies here. I'm definitely sure of that. People will share testimonies how their teenagers have begun to respond in very positive way, and things are much calmer than the way it used to be. And that is my hope for all of us. Sister Esther, is it a quick one? Your hand is up.
I want to affirm everything you said, and also what Sister Nika just said before you. You know how that because we're parents, we think we have every knowledge. No, there are people who have actually taken out time to study teenagers, and we're doing ourselves a great service. We're not here because we're bad parents. No, if you want to learn how to drive, want to get a driver's license, even marriage, they have school for it. They have driving school for it. So I just want to say kudos to all the parents who have humbled themselves to come on here. And I love the way that you open it and we can discuss and we can share from our own experiences. And the last thing I want to contribute, which I've really seen impact in my own life, is that when you study yourself, when you become aware of yourself, what are your triggers? What are the things that make you happy? That's why one of our homeworks was to spend 20 minutes doing something for ourselves, being conscious about building yourself, because otherwise you will not even be able to love anybody else. You'll not be able to understand anybody else. I just wanted to really, really drive that home. Thank you, Ma, for the opportunity to share. God bless everybody.
Thank you. Sister Oweni, you need to open your camera. We need to see your face. So yes, that was the last thing I wanted to say before I share my screen again. The bit of the homework that I really want us to do this week, because it's every week I will ask you to do that, to spend 10 minutes doing something nice for yourself. And I will tell you the reason. That homework, we didn't plug it from the air to give it like that. There's a reason for it. We need parents to start looking after themselves. Because when we are calm and, kind of relaxed, we are much better parents. What do we think? Yeah? Please, good. When we are calm and relaxed, we are much, much better parents. Because parenting, like we said, is challenging. We said it last week. Parenting teenagers is challenging, but it's also rewarding. And on top of it, we are doing so many things. We are going to work, we are doing this, we are doing that, we are doing that. Somebody like me, I wear so many heads, so it's challenging. It can be stressful. So do something nice for yourself. Look after yourself. And sometimes when we are not looking after ourselves, evidence and research has shown that we transfer our anxiety to our children. This is why in the work that I do in CBT, in primary school, our sessions and treatment are through the parents, not to the child, because we discovered that parents are transferring their anxiety to the children at younger age. So your child wants to go to secondary school, you're already panicking. You want all the best grammar schools in town. You want all the whatever. You want Cambridge. The child that you haven't given birth to, you're already plotting preschool. What will I do? I will start the lesson when the child is 1 year old. Once the child start walking, I'll put that child in lesson because I want the child to be in this and that. We're already so anxious and we're transferring that anxiety to our children. And that's why I'm asking us to do something, 10 minutes, do something nice to yourself. Yeah, even if it means taking a walk, take fresh air in these days of lockdown. Even if it means you and your husband going out for a meal, whatever, just do something nice to yourself. If it means maybe you haven't painted your nails for a while, if you're a lady and you want to paint your nails, just do something nice. Just call it me. Go to gym, whatever, do something nice for yourself. Look after yourself so that you'll be able to look after these children. God will help us as we continue. So I'll share my screen in a moment and then we discuss what we want to discuss today. So the question is, why do they behave the way they behave? Why do they behave like that? Brother Ahmed has started by saying, because they want to be independent, they think they know it all when they don't know it all. That's why they behave like that. Could there be any other reason why they behave the way they behave? That's what I want to ask us. Could there be any other reason why teenagers behave the way they behave? But I'll check because I can't see the screen. Yeah, if someone is raising hand.
Yes, I'm checking.
Okay. So what is your thought? Why do they behave like that? Why do teenagers that are so erratic, they want to know it all, they want to do what they want? Why do they do that? Sister Anike.
Sister Anike, yeah.
Yeah.
I may not have the absolute answer. I mean, the best answer to the question, but I know that one of the reasons why they behave the way they behave is basically because of pressure that we parents are placing on them, and in return they are just behaving in a rebellious way against the parents, because they may it may take some parents sometimes to sit down with their teenagers to ask them, why are you behaving like this? Then they will be able to find out, or we'll be able to find out that the reason is because you've not listened to me. You are just imposing all your all your own interest on me. This is what like our expectation of them, from them, not what they themselves want to do or what they want to do. Okay, just like for instance, my son, because following the advice of last week, I rang the network provider, and I told them that this is a child. I want to put a child lock on his phone and everything. So, but I think I was too fast about the approach I used. I just told my son, okay, now I've given you this phone, and now you have started football, but you have to give this phone to me by 7 p.m. And if not, you will not go to football again. And because I said you will not go to football again, and my son, he never liked it. I said you won't go to football again, and he did not give the phone to me at 7 p.m. But when I asked him later, he said, because you said I won't go to football. So sometimes they act in a rebellious manner because we are putting too much of pressure on them. So one of the reasons I think they behave like that is that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was a powerful feedback. So just out of curiosity, before I go back to Esther, if you had, when you wanted that your son would give you the phone in the night, what if you had said to him, okay, so this phone now, let's have a discussion about it. Do you think you should be having this phone throughout the night? And if so, why? What impact is it having on your ability to do other things? Do you think it would be a better way to go about it?
I believe so, ma. Yes, ma.
Yeah. And also, what if you had waited when you have taken him to that football you said you took him to, and when they came back, they were very happy before having that conversation? Do you think you get a better result?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So sometimes timing is important, and also negotiation. This is what I was saying about negotiation, because if you put it back to him and two of you negotiate, he might say, okay, mommy, let me just, there's that thing that I watch up to 8 o'clock. Let me just give it to you, maybe 9 o'clock. Then you say, 9 is a bit, okay, let's do 8:30. You do that kind of negotiation. He will willingly return it to you. But when you come and say, if you don't do this, I will not give you that thing you enjoy. Let that thing you enjoy be the reward, not the punishment. Do you understand what I'm saying? So that's just a tweaking it. So let the thing your child enjoy be the reward, not the punishment. So when your child does well in things that you have been struggling with them to do, then you surprise them by giving them a reward of that thing they really enjoy. But don't use what they enjoy to be the punishment. You will get a rebellious child. Who's raised hand first? Is it Esther or Luciala? Sorry.
It was me, actually, but I just want to speak to what you just said, because there's something happened this afternoon, and whereby someone was asked to do something that's helpful. Let's just say it was like a homework, and the person was really being very stubborn and not wanting to do it. So I used the reward as the incentive, saying that, listen, you might want to get physical, start hitting your mom, start being like, I won't do it. But guess what? You're actually sacrificing in the process is that thing you love, because the longer you stay here just trying to negotiate and argue your way out of this matter, the longer you're kept away from the thing you want to go and do. And in the end, the person saw the wisdom of that, and the person caved in. So, but what I really wanted to add initially was that children or teenagers sometimes misbehave due to ignorance, because at that age, we don't know what's best for us. We don't know how important the fact your father or your mother is saying, do this because they've seen ahead. But you want to just like, the teenager just wants to argue because they feel like, I am a teenager. I'm growing some hairs in my pubic area. I should know, I'm having this hormone that should make me feel like I'm an adult now. Like I'm a big boy, I'm a big girl, and you don't get to tell me everything in my life. So it's that little bit of, I want to have that. But anyways, even 2-year-old toddlers do the same thing. They're always saying no, and they're always insisting on their own way. But discipline, even as adults, sometimes we're not disciplined. And when we don't get what we want, we start arguing, we start nagging our spouses, our partners. So it's a real skill that we need to imbibe, honestly. And the reasons are too wide and varied, but I'll just leave that one there. Thank you, ma'am, for the opportunity to share.
You're welcome. The other thing I wanted to also chip in is, sometimes we're also role models for our children. So the way we deal with things, our children watch us as well. Children don't just listen to what you say, they watch what you do. In fact, what you do makes more impression on them than what you say. So if the way you get around things is by arguing your way all the time and, being selfish about what it is you want, not considering other people or the implications of whatever you want on other people, your children will learn it with time. So we should also be thinking about that. It's not just about telling them, it's about also showing them. If we are people that think about other people, care about other people, go out of our way to please another person, to meet another person's need, to give in terms of resources and our time. Our children will observe it, and before you know it, they will begin to imbibe it as their social value. So it's also important, not just telling, but doing. It's not telling, but doing. And sometimes it's also important that we recognize that we need to allow teenagers some reasonable risk. I'll come back to that at another chapter. We need to allow them some reasonable risk. There's something called helicopter parents. Have we heard about that before? Helicopter parenting. I will come back to that in a moment. So, but we need to allow our children some level of risk sometimes, because we are raising adults, brethren. We are not raising children. The problem we have is that we think we are raising children. We are not raising children. We are raising adults. A professor wrote a book called How to Raise an Adult. I will share that professor's view in a moment as well. We are raising adults. And when you are raising adults, bear in mind, what kind of person will this person turn out to be as an adult? And that means we need to allow them some reasonable risk, and they will learn from it. If we are overprotecting, like the helicopter parents, they will never grow, they will never mature, and they will never have agency to decipher what is right or wrong. And I listen to the word I use, reasonable risk that is appropriate, risk that is not damaging. Say, for example, if your child wants to go out with their friends, and you say, I don't want you going out with all this anybody, just come back here. Why are you going out? No. When they are teenagers, they need that level of interaction. What you can do as a parent is to find out who their friends are and know the background of their friends and their family. And if you're satisfied with it, make friends with their moms or dads, so that when they want to go out with those friends, you are kind of comfortable to a reasonable extent. And that's a level of risk you can allow. So you allow them, they go, come back. Then you allow them, they go for sleepover and come back. These are gradual step into independence. But some parents, no. If it is not my family, no. You must understand that children need that. And that's why they rebel when we're doing helicopter parents. Sister Luciala.
Thank you, ma. I don't know, maybe I got it right, so I just wanted to say, to just contribute on what my sister said now. So you mentioned last week, you mentioned something about, the teenager, they are not happy to wake up in time because of their teen brain. You mentioned about teen brain, that they are not happy to wake up in time when they're in the morning. So it's very hard. It used to be hard for them because of their brain. That their brain is active like in the afternoon, night, than early in the morning. You mentioned something like that. So because sometimes the way they behave is not, we should understand them in that area. We should understand them as a mother, that in the morning we should use to just encourage them to wake up in love in the morning. You mentioned something like that last week. So that is what I wanted to contribute based on what my sister Nike said. Thank you, ma.
You're welcome. Thank you. I think it's Norway that had changed the time they start school because of research on teenage brain, that are slower in the morning. And that's why they tend to be sluggish and they don't want to wake up. And like you said, wake them up, encourage them to go to bed early as much as you can, because they need more hours of sleep, because their brain is still developing. So they need more hours of sleep. So first of all, they don't like going to bed early. That's another thing, because their brain is more active in the day. But try to encourage them to change that routine, to go to bed earlier. And so when they go to bed earlier, the likelihood of them being able to wake up earlier is higher. And then wake them up, like you said, in love, because it helps them, if they sleep longer. Because sleep is the time where our body takes time to rebuild itself. So sleep is very important, both in our body and our brain, and particularly for teenagers. Sleep helps that building process that I shared last week. There's weaning and pruning in their brain going on. So sleep helps when their brain is not too active. That's how God designed the brain. It has the opportunity to prune and rebuild and shred things that needs to be shredded and make connections that need to be connected. And then they function better. So that's why it's important they sleep well. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to ask us is, have we heard this thing called iceberg? No, we normally say tip of the iceberg. Have we heard that saying, tip of the iceberg? We always say it's only the tip of the iceberg. It's a saying we usually say. So there's a theory behind that iceberg that we say tip of the iceberg. So the iceberg is something, this picture that is here now, that's what they say. The top of it is the tip. The way we say tip of the iceberg is like an idiomatic expression. So this is the picture of what that iceberg look like. But this top is the tip. That tip means the surface, the bit you can see. Then means there is something under, other things under, that is bubbling under. Then you only see the tip of the iceberg. You didn't see the other parts there because there's so much under. That's what it is referring to. So this is what the picture of an iceberg looks like. There are a lot under the sea, and there's a few on top. So there's something we call behavior iceberg. So behavior iceberg is behavior that you see on top. So the things that your teenager is exhibiting to you is the ones you see, and that's the iceberg. But the ones you didn't see are under the iceberg. So the focus today is to understand why those ones you see are there. So they're being stubborn, they're being rude, they're being argumentative, they're taking risky behavior, they're doing this, being annoying, stamping their feet, grumbling, all those things are the things you see, that are the tip of the iceberg. That is the behavior that you see, and you don't like it because you feel, why this child behaving like this? Why they always argue? Why they always wanting everything? You can't give them instruction and they take it. They want to constantly negotiate every little thing. They want to be aggressive. They do this. They swear. They want, bumping everything, deliberately making noises and all that, and disobeying. So those are the top of the iceberg that you are seeing. So that's why I started by saying, could there be any other reason why they behave the way they behave? That's what we're trying to understand today. So if that's the only thing we take out today, that's enough. Could there be any other reason why they're behaving the way they're behaving? Sorry. Could there be any other reason why they're behaving the way they're behaving? So under this iceberg are the possible reasons, as we have already said it actually. So behavior generally is as a result of something. There's no behavior that is not as a result of something. So that's what we want to discuss today. So there's always things that causes the behavior that you see. So those causes of that behavior can be physical need, it can be they need attention, it can be they have this sense of fairness, especially in this country. Everything they say is not fair, but it's not fair. I don't know if your teenager has told you that, but my daughter tells me that. You know where we are coming from. We don't normally, say that a lot, but here it's not fair. It has to be fair. It's not fair. So it could be that, sense of fairness or distribution. It could be because they want control. They want a control to be independent, or that you are over controlling them also. So control can either be them wanting the control, or they are suffocating under your control as a helicopter parent. It could be you are denying them entertainment because you only want them to do physics, chemistry, maths. They want to be doctor, engineer. No other profession in the world matters. Lawyer, doctor, engineer, accountant, that's it. And they must have 9 A stars. And you want them to read from 9 till tomorrow. They will never rest or play or have entertainment. And you forgot that they're not adults, they're actually teenagers. Even us as adults, we still need a bit of entertainment, Then it could also because they lack confidence on the things we're expecting them to do. You understand? Sometimes we're expecting too much and they lack confidence or ability to do those things. So they're acting out because they can't do those things we're expecting them to do. It can also be poor self-regulation, emotion, and it has to do with emotion and cognition. So that's why I said what you do, your teenagers watch it. Not just your teenagers, your children from baby. If you're someone that cannot self-regulate, most times you transfer that anxiety to your children. They will not self-regulate as well. There are parents that are not patient. They can't bear pain. They react over every little thing. They quarrel with everybody. Their neighbors, they've quarreled with them 10 times because of the little garden that they are sharing or the fence they are sharing. Because of little noise that they hear through the wall. They quarreled and quarreled. Police have come, council have come. Every little thing, they react to it. They cannot self-regulate. They cannot, calm down when they're angry and think about what is making them angry. So if you can't do that, your children, before you know it, they begin to pick it. They begin to, because there are 4 things that, are under the iceberg for every human being and a child. One is called social value. The other one is self-image. The other one is your motive. The other one is your threat. And above the iceberg is your skill, knowledge, and experience. But the things that control your skill, knowledge, and experience is your social value, your self-image, your threat, and your motive. And where do you get this from? You get it from your parents. You get it from your parents. You get your motivation, your self-image, your social value. You get them from your parents at home. Your threats of behavior. Some parents, some families that are very aggressive, that are very, some families that are very calm, mature, reasonable, noble. So you get it from that, your family trait, because your family is your first agent of socialization. Before you go to the school and then you go to workplace, your first agent of socialization is your family. So this is what happens. So if a parent cannot self-regulate, it's likely their own child will not be able to self-regulate. Does it make sense? Can somebody raise hands? So I know that you understand what I'm saying. I don't want to talk over your head and you're not getting what I'm saying. Yeah? Or somebody say, yes, I understand.
Yes, we are with you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, because it's important that I know that I'm not talking over your head. So, so under this iceberg, you can see the behaviors we are seeing on top of the iceberg is rude, stubborn, unresponsive, and all that and all that. But the feeling under is the child maybe be feeling unloved, angry, frustrated, I'm not being listened to, I'm being misunderstood. They may be tired, they may be feeling ignored, because some of us parents, yeah, we are so busy, trying to put food on the table. We are so busy trying to do so many things that we tend to ignore, the feelings of our children. Sometimes they're being bullied in school. Nobody knows, they can't talk to nobody. They're confused, they feel pressured, overwhelmed, stupid. These are feelings that are going on under this iceberg that needs to be explored, that a parent needs to unpack to know how best to support their teenager. No child was born naturally, horrible, or, the way they turn out to be. It is combination of environmental factors that turn an innocent child to whatever they come out to be. That's the truth. That's the truth. Then there's also, under this iceberg, the other level, this level, is the need. So our children need attention, they need security, they need to be understood, they need to be loved, they need to be cuddled, they need food, drink, they need sleep. I always say sleep, very, very important. They need their own space. Sometimes you need to know when to give your child space, especially a teenager, yeah? Sometimes you need to learn when to give them space. It's not every time you must have your way to the end. Sometimes just give them some space. And they will reflect on some things and come back to you. Sometimes they will come and apologize, So, but we don't know how to give space. We need to learn to give space. They need to be respected as well. Respect is two ways. It's not just children respecting adults. We also should respect our young people. We should respect their views, even if it sounds stupid to us. We should also respect it, and then can guide them based on our experience to see the bigger picture, because that's what they're unable to see because of their brain development. So regardless of what it is, that opinion they're sharing, our job as adults is to guide them to see the bigger picture. And before you know it, they will catch it. They're quite intelligent children. So they need exercise. Our children need exercise. That's something we really need to give attention. There are two things exercises do. It's an entertainment, it's also an antidepressant. And remember, we said that teenage life is a life because of the hormonal change and the changes in the brain that makes them feel moody. So when we encourage them to exercise, we resolve two things. It's entertainment, it's social network, because they see other children that are doing whatever exercise it is they're doing with. So it makes them happy. And it's also antidepressant. It regulates them. It regulates their hormones and mood. So please, if we forget any other thing, don't let us forget that. And especially for boys, when they exercise, because it helps them to regulate their moods, help them to improve their social network and social skills. It improves their relationships, because they begin to learn how to talk to other people, how to relate with opposite sex, how to respect, how to give space to other people's feeling. So exercise does a lot for especially boys. When they come home, they're tired physically, they're tired. And you have less troublesome teenagers because they've won themselves, especially if, you have a child that is so active. By the time they come back, they're tired physically and they're more able to listen to you and do what you are asking them to do. So it's important that we encourage our teenagers to exercise. And who knows, from exercise, they might find a hobby, and that hobby might become something, that'll become something they can earn from in future. So that's very, very important. I will stop sharing for a moment, and I'll hear your contributions before I play something I want us to listen to, that professor that gave a talk on how to raise an adult. Sister Miriam.
Yeah, I just want to talk about what you just said about exercise. It's so important, and it's so true. For me, I have all girls, so I must say that it's also very good for girls too. What I found with the exercise was that it builds self-confidence, and depending on what they do, like I love martial arts, so my daughter did taekwondo. She still does, actually. And one of the things they teach, a lot of people think it's just about, fighting and all of that, but no, what they do is they teach you discipline. It's very, very important. They teach you how to respect others. They teach you run if you can run, if anything happens to you, but if you have to defend yourself, you understand? So it's when my daughter started, it was mainly boys and men in it. And I wanted her to know that, look, because you're a girl doesn't mean you can't do what you want to do. You can't do anything, doesn't matter. You shouldn't let your gender stop you. So I just want to reiterate what you just said about exercise. It makes a world of difference. It's also good for social interaction because they get to meet other people and they get to meet people of like minds. Because it's one thing to go to school and come across other students that don't necessarily share what you like or what you want to do. But when you go for exercise or specific exercise, you start narrowing down like the kind of group you want to socialize with. You start identifying yourself as a person. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you. Any other contribution or question?
Councillor Favor, can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you for being there for all of us. My question is on the issue of negotiating with our teenagers. If you negotiate with your teenager on a thing, let's take, for instance, the laptop, video game, PS4, because these are the things that is raging high in my family. And they agreed on their own part, say, yes, Mom, if you, PS4 is the first negotiation. My son told me, Mom, if you get PS4 for me, for my birthday, whatever you ask me, I will do. I said, what do you think I always what do you think I always ask you? He said, you ask me to study now. So I said, okay, I will buy. I don't know if I can buy that because you have PS3 already, because I want to do it as a surprise anyway. You have PS3 already, but let's get to your birthday first. That birthday, I gave him PS4. He jumped, hugged me, this, that. Then he said, I said, I've done my own part. Your part is to study at least 2 hours a day. He did it only 1 week, Pastor Favor, Councillor Favor, and he went back to the old thing. So my question now is, and to anybody in the floor, how do I go about it? I kept to my own promise and they didn't give to their own. That's my question.
Very good example, and I would like this question. So we will give you the possible suggestions, but very, very good example. I've seen it practical. Who wants to contribute to what our sister might do?
Can I say something?
Yes, go on.
I hope speaking. I had a similar situation with 2 of my boys. The 14-year-old, what happened in his, I think sometimes it works depending on the child. Because my older son who
I'm sorry, I can't get you. So the whole thing is rowdy.
Okay, Sister Hope, can you continue now? Sorry.
You can continue now. We've muted the person. You can continue.
Okay. So my son who is 14-year-old, I had a negotiation with him. But what happened in his own way is when he gets to the part that he has to do the thing, he will twist it in a way that it will favor him. So it became like a struggle to understand, like when I started looking for what is going on, am I going crazy or is he, in fact, I just concluded that he's just a selfish boy. Then coming to his brother, I had a different type of negotiation. That was after the first 101 class. So the negotiation was, I asked him, what time do you want to use your, what time do you want to surrender your phone? He said 7 o'clock. And then I said, if you didn't surrender it, what will happen tomorrow? He said that he will lose 1 day of touching his phone. So I said, okay, well, agreement is agreement too. I took my phone. I said, say it again. Let me record it so that I will have evidence. So I did that. And then he promised me that another punishment I can give him is instead of a full day, he can play his violin for half an hour. So the next day, he didn't do the thing. So I just called him and my daughter, who is also my witness. I was like, what did we agree yesterday? Immediately he heard me asking the question, he put his face down on the floor. He said, oh yes, mommy. So he handed me he tried to fight it. His sister was like, I was there, remember? So he handed me the phone. I said, no, we didn't agree to hand me the phone. We assigned a location for the phone. So you go there and put it so that he won't say I seized his phone. So he put it there. Another day he tried again to maneuver it. But what I noticed from his own is, to me, he's such a blessing to me. But for that to work, we also as a parent have to, in our own tricky way and a smiley face, whether it's a fake smiling in a smoothie way, be persistent, so that they can actually implement that. It didn't work for my first son, but is working on him. And he enjoys it when he knows he has done his own part. I try not to, even when I want him to do something, I try not to cross his boundary because we've made that agreement. But sometimes I felt like I'm tempted to get him to do something for me, but so that I won't push him back to what I was trying to avoid, I try to control myself while I'm also trying to be persistent and then thinking of how do I deal with the bigger boy.
Thank you very much, Sister Hope. That was a very good one. Thank you. That's why I said these are young people that are very smart. And we need to be a step ahead. But part of it is, part of it is, you see all this technology and social media. We need to be a step ahead, because they're very, very smart, very, very smart. And some of us are way behind in some of this. It's not our fault. We are not the generation that were raised with these things, but we just need to get up higher in the way to understand how they can maneuver us. And what you said, Sister Hope, is really correct, that we should be persistent. We should be persistent when we have reached negotiations and reach an agreement. And let me be honest with you, it is not just about that particular issue you are teaching the child, it's about their future. That when they are in an organization have staff meeting, or even in school, and school said, this is the rules, this is what has been agreed. Everybody goes to lunch from 1 o'clock to 1:30. Year 7 go first, year 8 go next. Then when you finish, you go this way, you don't take this route, you take the other route. So that is part of life. And you see, the teachers are insistent on it. They don't beat them, they don't flog them, but they get them to do what they want them to do. Because they're insistent, they're consistent in communicating what the expectations are. And when they give them those behavior cards, that they give them strike. And when you have 3 strikes, you do detention. They graduated, they are very clear. But as parents, sometimes we lose our boundary quickly. We lose it too quickly. When we have agreed that you should return your phone by 9 p.m. and they didn't return the phone, when that was the agreement, and we know what we said, that if you didn't return the phone by 9 p.m., the next day you will lose, you instead of having 2 hours of maybe watching TV, you will need to do 2 hours of cleaning, for example, whatever you agreed. And then when they didn't return their phone, we're too quick to blur the boundary. Even though we should be flexible, we should still maintain boundaries, because these children are very smart. They are very, very smart. When your child knows that you maintain boundary, it makes them to feel safer. It doesn't suffocate them. It makes them to feel safer when they know that these boundaries has been agreed and it needs to be maintained. Sorry, Bro Gregory.
Good evening. It's Cheryl.
Oh, sorry. Go on. Yeah.
I just wanted to know at what age is it appropriate to remove like parental locks on children's devices. Because at the moment, each of them has like, parental locks just so that they don't go onto the wrong websites. And, if they're playing games, they don't, because my worry is this thing on the internet of strangers grooming my children and that sort of thing. At what age can you now say, okay, fine, you can use the internet without these parental locks on them? Thank you.
Okay, we'll come back to that in a second. Sister Chido. Your line is not good. Sorry, Sister Chido.
So on my end, experiencing a lot. Can you hear me?
It's not quite clear. Try again.
Okay, let me type. Let me put it in the chat box.
Yes, put it in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tashido. She joined us from Zimbabwe. She's one of our volunteers.
Thank you so much. My sister that asked a question about parental lock. The truth is that a child is a child. When the other time I was in Middlesbrough, I asked people to define what a child is. A child is a child. Anybody below the age of 18 is a child. Then anybody below the age of 16 is deemed not to have capacity. So nobody below 16 can consent on some things, because they are deemed by law, under the Mental Capacity Act, not to have capacity, except if they have guilty competence. But that is a different level of assessment to determine that. But basically, if you are below 16, you need parental consent and a lot of things. But by law, by definition of a child, when you are below 18, you are a child. So the reason I'm putting this baseline is for you to know where to start from in terms of ages. Then the other thing is, as parents, we owe it a duty of care for our children to make sure that they're on safe sites. So when you have your internet provider, you go and do your parental settings the way you want it, according to the ages and capabilities and emotional intelligence of your children. Because sometimes some children have cognitive delays. So they may be biologically 18, but cognitive-wise, they may be 15. So you need to also, to take those factors into consideration when you are giving children autonomy. So based on what you assess your family household to be, you put in the parental locks the way you want it, the sites you want to release, the ones you want to block, the ones you want to give maybe 30 minutes access to. And even, I believe all of us are here adults. I hope there's no child in this meeting. Even you and your partner, if you are watching some kind of adults, whatever, you must be very careful, because once you release some things on your internet lock, everybody can also access it. So you need to be very careful as well on that. So the guide is that anybody below 16 is deemed not to have capacity and should have parental consent on most things, except on few occasions when they are judged to be guilty competent. Then anyone below 18 is still a child. So you need to assess your household and make decisions as to what is appropriate for you. Okay, so I want to share something I want us to listen to. It's from the author, a professor that wrote that book, How to Raise an Adult. Because of what some of us have shared about the expectations we put on our children and how it can frustrate them sometimes. So I want us to listen to that, and then we have a discussion. Because I want to try to kind of cater to different learners. Some people learn more by listening to someone, or by watching something, or by reading texts, or academic. So we're all kind of different kind of learners. So that I want to be sure that everybody gets something.
Councillor Favor, while you are trying to share your screen, there's a chat from Shido.
Okay.
She has an internet
issue. Okay. She said, Okay. Yeah, I've seen it. So what I was saying before is we need to give our children opportunities to reasonable risk. That's why I use the word reasonable. So you don't give them, allow them to take risks that will destroy them, or risks that they cannot be able to comprehend at the age they are. So if a child wants to put hand in fire, you don't allow them to put hand in fire. So that's what I mean by you have to give reasonable risk. There are some risks you allow them to take so they learn from it. Say, for example, if, teenagers, they argue so much. One time like that, I can't remember, my daughter was arguing with me. I can't remember what it was. If you add, they learned something in chemistry. And she said, if you boil water to certain degrees, it will not be this, it will not be. I can't remember what degree she said. I said, no, it's not true. So I used my own pot to demonstrate it to her while I was supervising her, to show her that what her peers are saying is not true. So there are some level of risk you can allow a child to learn from, because if you overprotect a child, they will never learn. If they need to take a bus, for example, and you feel that they're up to the age that they need to take a bus, first of all, take them through that bus route yourself. Then when you come back, you give them the appropriate bus pass, give them a phone. And because you've taken them through that bus route yourself, you show them the bus stop where they enter, you show them the bus stop where they come off. Then you give them opportunity to take the bus by themselves. And then you are standby to be sure that if they get lost, they can always call you. So those kind of risks you need to allow children to take, but not the one that will destroy them.
Days that is kind of messing up kids, impeding their chances to develop into their selves. There's a certain style of parenting these days that's getting in the way. I guess what I'm saying is we spend a lot of time being very concerned about parents who aren't involved enough in the lives of their kids and their education or their upbringing, and rightly so. But at the other end of the spectrum, there's a lot of harm going on there as well, where parents feel a kid can't be successful unless the parent is protecting and preventing at every turn, and hovering over every happening, and micromanaging every moment, and steering their kid towards some small subset of colleges and careers. When we raise kids this way, and I'll say we, because Lord knows in raising my two teenagers, I've had these tendencies myself, our kids end up leading a kind of checklisted childhood. And here's what the checklisted childhood looks like. We keep them safe and sound and fed and watered. And then we want to be sure they go to the right schools, but not just that they're in the right classes at the right schools, that they get the right grades in the right classes in the right schools. But not just the grades, the scores. And not just the grades and scores, but the accolades and the awards and the sports and the activities and the leadership. We tell our kids, don't just join a club, start a club, because colleges want to see that. And check the box for community service. I mean, show the colleges you care about others. And all of this is done to some hoped-for degree of perfection. We expect our kids to perform at a level of perfection we were never asked to perform at ourselves. And so because so much is required, we think, well, then, of course, we parents have to argue with every teacher and principal and coach and referee and act like our kids' concierge and personal handler and secretary. And then with our kids, our precious kids, we spend so much time nudging, cajoling, hinting, helping, haggling, nagging, as the case may be, to be sure they're not screwing up, not closing doors, not ruining their future, some hoped-for admission to a tiny handful of colleges that deny almost every applicant. And here's what it feels like to be a kid in this checklisted childhood. First of all, there's no time for free play. There's no room in the afternoons because everything has to be enriching, we think. It's as if every piece of homework, every quiz, every activity is a make or break moment for this future we have in mind for them. And we absolve them of helping out around the house. And we even absolve them of getting enough sleep as long as they're checking off the items on their checklist. And in the checklisted childhood, we say we just want them to be happy, But when they come home from school, what we ask about all too often first is their homework and their grades. And they see in our faces that our approval, that our love, that their very worth comes from A's. And then we walk alongside them and offer clucking praise like a trainer at the Westminster Dog Show, coaxing them to just jump a little higher and soar a little farther day after day after day. And when they get to high school, they don't say, well, what might I be interested in studying or doing as an activity? They go to counselors and they say, what do I need to do to get into the right college? And then when the grades start to roll in high school and they're getting some B's or God forbid some C's, they frantically text their friends and say, has anyone ever gotten into the right college with these grades? And our kids, regardless of where they end up at the end of high school, they're breathless, they're brittle, they're a little burned out, they're a little old before their time, wishing the grown-ups in their lives had said, what you've done is enough, this effort you've put forth in childhood is enough. And they're withering now under high rates of anxiety and depression, and some of them are wondering, will this life ever turn out to have been worth it? Well, we parents are pretty sure it's all worth it. We seem to behave, it's like we literally think they will have no future if they don't get into one of these tiny set of colleges or careers we have in mind for them. Or maybe we're just afraid they won't have a future we can brag about to our friends and with stickers on the backs of our cars. Yeah. But if you look at what we've done, if you have the courage to really look at it, you'll see that not only do our kids think their worth comes from grades and scores, but that when we live right up inside their precious developing minds all the time, like our very own version of the movie Being John Malkovich, we send our children the message, hey kid, I don't think you can actually achieve any of this without me. And so with our overhelp, our overprotection, overdirection, and handholding, we deprive our kids of the chance to build self-efficacy, which is a really fundamental tenet of the human psyche, far more important than that self-esteem they get every time we applaud. Self-efficacy is built when one sees that one's own actions lead to outcomes, not, there you go. Not one's parents' actions on one's behalf, but when one's own actions lead to outcomes. So simply put, if our children are to develop self-efficacy, and they must, then they have to do a whole lot more of the thinking, planning, deciding, doing, hoping, coping, trial and error, dreaming and experiencing of life for themselves. Now, am I saying every kid is hardworking and motivated and doesn't need a parent's involvement or interest in their lives and we should just back off and let go? Hell no. That is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is when we treat grades and scores and accolades and awards as the purpose of childhood, all in furtherance of some hoped-for admission to a tiny number of colleges or entrance to a small number of careers, that's too narrow a definition of success for our kids. And even though we might help them achieve some short-term wins by overhelping, like they get a better grade if we help with do their homework, they might end up with a longer childhood resume when we help. What I'm saying is that all of this comes at a long-term cost to their sense of self. What I'm saying is we should be less concerned with a specific set of colleges they might be able to apply to or might get into, and far more concerned that they have the habits, the mindset, the skill set, the wellness to be successful wherever they go. What I'm saying is our kids need us to be a little less obsessed with grades and scores and a whole lot more interested in childhood providing a foundation for their success built on things like love and chores. Did I just say chores? Did I just say chores? I really did. But really, here's why. The longest longitudinal study of humans ever conducted is called the Harvard Grant Study. It found that professional success in life, which is what we want for our kids, that professional success in life comes from having done chores as a kid. And the earlier you started, the better. That a roll up your sleeves and pitch in mindset, a mindset that says, there's some unpleasant work, someone's got to do it, it might as well be me. A mindset that says, I will contribute my effort to the betterment of the whole. That's what gets you ahead in the workplace. Now, we all know this. You know this. We all know this. And yet, in the checklisted childhood, we absolve our kids of doing the work of chores around the house. And then they end up as young adults in the workplace, still waiting for a checklist. But it doesn't exist. And more importantly, lacking the impulse, the instinct to roll up their sleeves and pitch in and look around and wonder, how can I be useful to my colleagues? How can I anticipate a few steps ahead to what my boss might need? A second very important finding from the Harvard Grant Study said that happiness in life comes from love, not love of work, love of humans. Our spouse, our partner, our friends, our family. So childhood needs to teach our kids how to love, and they can't love others if they don't first love themselves, and they won't love themselves if we can't offer them unconditional love. Right. And so, instead of being obsessed with grades and scores when they come home, when our precious offspring come home from school or we come home from work, we need to close our technology, put away our phones, and look them in the eye and let them see the joy that fills our faces when we see our child for the first time in a few hours. And then we have to say, how was your day? What did you like about today? And when your teenage daughter says lunch, like mine did, and I want to hear about the math test, not lunch, you have to still take an interest in lunch. You got to say, what was great about lunch today? They need to know they matter to us as humans, not because of their GPA. All right, so you're thinking chores and love, that sounds all well and good, but give me a break. The colleges want to see top scores and grades and accolades and awards, and I'm going to tell you, sorta. The very biggest brand name schools are asking that of our young adults. But here's the good news. Contrary to what the college rankings racket would have us believe, you don't have to go to one of the biggest brand name schools to be happy and successful in life. Happy and successful people went to state school, went to a small college no one has heard of, went to community college, went to a college over here and flunked out. The evidence is in this room, is in our communities, that this is the truth. And if we could widen our blinders and be willing to look at a few more colleges, maybe remove our own egos from the equation, we could accept and embrace this truth and then realize it is hardly the end of the world if our kids don't go to one of those big brand name schools. And more importantly, if their childhood has not been lived according to a tyrannical checklist, then when they get to college, whichever one it is, well, they'll have gone there on their own volition, fueled by their own desire, capable and ready to thrive there. I have to admit something to you. I've got two kids I mentioned, Sawyer and Avery. They're teenagers. And once upon a time, I think I was treating my Sawyer and Avery like little bonsai trees that I was going to carefully clip and prune and shape into some perfect form of a human that might just be perfect enough to warrant them admission to one of the most highly selective colleges. But I've come to realize, after working with thousands of other people's kids and raising two kids of my own, my kids aren't bonsai trees. They're wildflowers of an unknown genus and species. And it's my job to provide a nourishing environment, to strengthen them through chores, and to love them so they can love others and receive love. And the college, the major, the career, that's up to them. My job is not to make them become what I would have them become, but to support them in becoming their glorious selves. Thank you.
How's it, baby?
Sorry. Not sure what's happening to my computer. Okay. Sorry. Hello, can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. So I just wanted your thoughts about what we've watched. This professor, she's the dean of Stanford University in US. It's one of the most highly sought out university. She's the dean of freshmen. What they call freshmen over there is first year. When you come in, the first time you come into university. So that just to give a bit of background about her. She's an African American. So just wanted our thoughts, what we think.
For me, if I can just like start the ball rolling on this, I really, really love this presentation, this TED Talk, because of my own background as a child who grew up and had parents that were very performance-based. It was never really about what I was feeling or what I really wanted. It was all about, hey, this is the stage where you have to go to school and be a doctor because job security is really good for doctors. It's not really about whether you have a talent in singing or in drama or in whatever you love. Doesn't matter your job satisfaction or whatever. So my family background, and I'm using myself as an example because I'm not, I'm a speaker. I use my story all the time. So I'm very happy for this to go on air. On record, yeah. So, but all the while, what I'm doing now, what I'm getting the most joy, satisfaction, helping people out of is from those creative abilities that I have. And without even being aware, I was passing that on to my children subtly. Like I'm looking at them in terms of, oh, how are people perceiving me based on how you look? Your hair's in a state, you look disgraceful. This is not how a princess from a royal background should look. And not even giving, giving thoughts to who they really are and their childhood and how the children don't have any ego. They just want to play and be loved. And love, because I'm in well-being, guys. Love is the backbone, is the bedrock, is the crux, is the foundation for any confident person who achieves anything. And it's not all about Harvard. Nobody on here, I don't think anybody on here went to Harvard. But we're all, and even if you did, no one really cares. It's if you are caring enough to look out for other people, that's how you can go on to be the Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, everybody who I'm mentioning their names now. They're people who serve the community. And something as simple as chores, wow, who knew? So this is my take. Everybody might not see what I'm saying, but I know so many damage that parents cause because of performance-based love. If you do well, we accept you. If you look well, we accept you. If you speak well, we accept you. If you're a rebel, if you're different, if you want to go and just, la-di-da-da, you're labeled, you're cursed, you're mad, you're crazy. Anyways, enough said. Thank you. Mama, you're muted. Councillor Favor, you're muted. Or is it just me?
Just to develop into their selves. There's a certain style of parenting these days that's getting in the way. I guess what I'm saying is we spend a lot of time being very concerned about parents who aren't involved enough.
Sorry about that. Sorry, well spoken, ONE. I'm just wondering if what other people thought about it. What do other people think? Auntie Nana.
Good afternoon, everybody. What I found powerful about the presentation is how she was saying that if you encourage your children to do chores and things that sometimes we don't think are so important, it turns them into these people who at work take initiative, anticipate what the boss wants, and they become very productive members of society. So in a sense, we shouldn't knock this. You know, a lot of us grew up knowing that we have to pull our weight around the house. You have to do certain things. It doesn't matter whether there are people who are paid to do the work. You will clean alongside the person who's been paid to clean. You will do, and there were times when as children, sometimes we thought, wow, parenting being so difficult. Why can't we just do nothing? Because some of our friends, that's how they were brought up. But hearing from this lady, the professor, and I'd be grateful if you give us her name at a later point.
I'll put her name on the chart.
Thank you very much. That was a very powerful presentation.
Yeah, there's another one she did. She wrote a very interesting book. The book is called, let me remember, How to Raise an Adult. Yeah, she's quite popular. Yeah.
On the flip side, I don't want parents going back and saying, you must do chores. Oh, don't you know that when you do chores, that means that you're going to be a destiny. If you're not doing chores, look at how they did a study on Harvard, and Harvard grant something. No, let's not like overflog the chores. Like,
no, there's a balance. I understand what Atinana is saying. There's a balance. The issue of doing chores and doing things is to think beyond yourself. That's the key. That's what the value is inculcating. Because you are doing chores because you live in a household, you know, everybody lives together. So the house has to be clean for the benefit of everybody. So it's that value of doing things beyond yourself. You know, that's what it is that she's emphasizing, that if you learn it early in life, then when you're in a workplace, you are likely to go the extra mile to do things for, you know, to improve the bigger objectives of the company or the organization. And that's what earns you bigger promotions. And what she said is true, because I've experienced it personally. Some people are raised in a very narrow way, especially in the culture we live in. It's me, myself, and I. And they don't think beyond that. And they're always claiming their rights. And when they come to workplace, they beat it, you know. So, but those of us that were raised to do things the way we were raised, we look beyond ourselves. And we have those values, and we show it, and we rise, because, I mean, bearing every other factor, because, you know, we contribute to the wider objectives. And how you live your life shows from what values you've learned over time. Auntie Nana.
I just want to add to what you've just said, which is it's so true. I'll give you an example. In my church, there's a preschool that uses the premises. We came in after half term. Somebody had spilled orange juice in the back hall that they use. Can you believe that the people who work in the preschool, instead of just getting them up and wiping that stupid orange juice, they had to go and call the administrator to say, oh, somebody has done this. And it's that attitude of not thinking that, well, I'm the somebody who can clean it up. It wasn't, and I think it was also because of lockdown, they used to having the premises to themselves. Whereas usually other people use the premises. And I remember even the administrator then came to meet me to ask that, oh, did we after church go and mess it up? And I said, no, because we were in the front room. Nobody went to the back. And apart from that, we did not serve orange juice. We only served tea and coffee. But what I'm saying is that look at the drama being created over a little spilled drink, when all you had to do was go and get a cloth and wipe it. And it is this way that some people don't understand, that all of us need to work together to make our environment pleasant. So yes, I do agree with one that we're not saying, yes, you go and tell your child, oh, Harvard has done this study, so you must do this. We're talking about raising rounded human beings who understand that it is not beneath you to pick up a mop.
Thank you so much. I'm just looking at the time. Sorry, people. There's just some things we need to tidy up on the lecture, but I just thought we should break the slides and all that to listen to this lady and have some reflections. So let's tidy up what we have to do today. Then we have some time to be off camera in a moment. So like I was saying before, I'm still sharing my slide. I'm saying that all behavior happens for a reason. And I use that ice badge just to, show us that there are things bubbling under that leads to the behavior we see outwards. And if we want to change the behavior we see outwards, we have to change the dynamics of what is happening under. Because when we change what is happening under, then we get a different outcome on top of the ice badge. So I kind of went into a little more detail here to summarize what I think is happening under, in terms of a child who is wanting attention of the adult or the peer. You have to be careful of what you and others reinforce. So if your child is seeking popularity among the peers, you have to be careful not to reinforce that and shift that attention, because to be a popular person is always something that teenagers want to be, but we know the risk associated with that. So if that is the kind of attention that your teenager is seeking, you need to be careful how you reinforce that, because if you reinforce it negatively, you are reinforcing something that will potentially not be good for the child. So though your child needs your attention to thrive, but you also need to be careful what you reinforce. So be careful how you give that attention and what you give that attention and what you reinforce. Reinforce the positive things and be a good role model for your child. So lack of confidence. So if a young person is struggling, you need to figure out what it is that is creating this lack of confidence. Is there something that is causing it? Is somebody bullying them? Is somebody laughing at them when they try to maybe raise their hand in class or do something and somebody makes caricature of it, or then it affects their confidence? You need to take time to figure out what it is and address the source of the problem. And also, sometimes children are afraid of failure because we have set high expectations for them. And so when they fail in something little, it affects their self-worth and self-confidence. I remember what this professor said: their self-worth should not be tied to those achievements. And I'm saying this not just as a social worker, but as a CBT therapist. We've discovered that what is happening to a lot of our young people from our background is that their self-worth is attached to achieving those 9 stars we want them to achieve. And when they're unable to achieve it, they crumble, and the consequences can be dire. I'm telling you, the consequences can be dire. They slip into depression, and sometimes they take their own life. So let's be mindful of that. And the child failing in something doesn't mean that they're a failure. So the way we react when our young person has failed to meet whatever expectations that we think they should meet is also important. So if, for example, you were expecting them to make a particular grade in a particular subject, and and they're unable to make those grades, the way we react to it is also important, because they're looking out to us for that affirmation that they're still good enough, So that's also important. And finally, remember that because of the changes in their brain, I always go back to that brain that we discussed last week. It means that they may forget some things. So we need to also be mindful of that, and not say, "But I told you this, I told you that." Just let's always remember that they may forget things, and always say, "It's not fair. It's not fair. It's not fair." That sense of fairness is absolutely important for young people. I've said it can be. It may seem little. Like I give you an example. My daughter came home one day and said to me that her friend, the parents bought her iPhone, whatever. They know the latest trend. I don't know. iPhone 11 or 12, whatever it is, for doing little to nothing. But she cannot get that. It's not fair. It's not fair. So that's how they think sometimes. But I had to sit her down and give her the bigger picture. Why any parent that gives every child the latest gadgets is not really the best way for that child. Because tomorrow is iPhone 11 today, tomorrow is 12, next tomorrow is 13, next tomorrow is 14. Where will you stop? So what you need is a functional phone that can do what is required to do. It doesn't need to be the latest. And if you keep trying to get the latest all the time, you are just making life unnecessarily difficult for yourself, even if you can afford it. You ask yourself, what is the purpose of phone? The phone you have, is it serving that purpose? That's it. So again, I said, make sure that they're having fun, diverting behavior. That I said it, exercise, fun is a way of diverting behavior. And children can get overwhelmed, so their self-regulation can be poor. You need to, also be sure that, you are providing that comfort for them. So they also want to be in control and want to make decisions. So give them some little decisions to make about their own lives. And don't think that you are in authority, you are in a position to be kind of struggling for authority. Not the parents, you are still the parents. So don't lose that sense of control as a parent, but at the same time, use your listening and negotiating skill to enable them learn how to negotiate as well. So like I said, remember the iceberg. What behavior you see on top is determined to what the feeling and needs is below. That's why I put that picture before. So we use communications, when the behavior we see is a way that the children are communicating to us that something is going on below the iceberg, below there, that needs the needs that are required to be met in terms of their feelings and needs. So like I said before, punishment, the word punishment, if possible, we should not use it. We can say sacrifice or discipline, because punishment itself is the least effective way of promoting behavior change. To be honest with you, punishment is least effective because sometimes children now end up becoming quite resistant and rebellious. So it doesn't teach the child the skills to better manage the situation next time. So that's what we need to, take time to do, to teach them to be persistent, to be consistent, and teach them how to change behavior next time. Way to manage feelings then. So teach your children these basic strategies. There's a healthy way of managing difficult feelings. You can choose to dwell on them. That way you are ruminating. Ruminating is a precursor to worry, and is a precursor to what we call GAD, generalized anxiety disorder or depression. You can bottle it up. It also leads to the same thing. It leads to low mood. You can try suppressing or hiding them away. It will still flow out someday, and it still leads to anxiety. You can decide to dump them on other people. That you are so bottled up and frustrated, like our teenagers do. They just dump it on us in their bad behavior and rudeness and all that. You can also choose to act out. You can become quite aggressive, in the way you demonstrate your feelings. But those are very unhealthy ways. So the healthy way to let teenagers know how to manage their feelings is to reflect on them. And that's why I say punishment is the least effective way of behavior change. Not that it doesn't lead to behavior change, but it's the least effective way. So reflecting on things is the best way to effect a change. So they reflect on it, they understand what has gone wrong. Like when my daughter says to me, "Mommy, I'm sorry." I say, "Okay, thank you." The next thing I say, "What are you sorry for?" I need to understand what you're sorry for. What is the behavior that you've done that you're sorry for? So we reflect on it together. So she understands why that behavior is wrong. So talking about it, that's part of it, reflecting and talking about it with someone and letting it go. So once we talked about it, we understand why that behavior was wrong. We take some learning and how we can change it in future. So if that situation were to come up again, how do we deal with it in future? Then we let it go. We don't go back to it again. "Oh, you are this. No. That's done." So that's where I will stop now.
YouTube channel, we want more likes, more share, more subscribe, help us to encourage, because this course It's by mouth. Majority of you heard of this. So we didn't have that financial capability to be on TV or to be on radio, but we know word by mouth could spread this and could help a lot of families. Please help us share this, let more people to know about it. And lastly, we are exclusively staffed by volunteers, and there are a lot of things we put in place. So we will appreciate your donation. We appreciate your networking. Let people know more about this. If you know a lot of philanthropists out there that could support this, let us know. We'll put the chat back for registration form, and I also put the chat for donation. You could do online donation, you could do transfer, or you can also contact us if you want to write a check for us. We will appreciate that. Oh, Esther, do you want to say something before we end the recording? Do you want to anything to say?
No, you said a lot. Just to say big thank you to all our sponsors, everybody who's donated, to our tutors, Council of Favour, Mama, Nana, Asante. We adore all of you. We really appreciate you. To all our parents, keep showing up. You're doing amazing. We see you. God bless.
Council of Favour, do you want to say something, please?
Yes, before we open, I want to give the homework, then we open for the out of camera. So the homework is how do you and your child handle difficult feelings? What feelings and needs might be behind your child's behavior? Spend 10 minutes doing something for yourself again. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
To take a picture of it, if people want to take a picture of it. How do you and your child handle difficult feelings? What feelings and needs might be behind your children's behavior? Spend 10 minutes doing something nice for yourself.